Hello and happy today your way. I'm your host Chuck Beard, coming to you from the NECAT Network PEG Studios right here in Music City, Nashville, Tennessee. And this is Metro Arts Forging Ahead. Every episode in this show brings together 3 Nashville artists who you may or may not already know from their various professional titles and roles around town. Within each lineup of featured artists, the categories of their day jobs vary. One is always someone who practices their art, but also works at a local arts organization or arts-related nonprofit. The second artist is an independent professional. And the third artist is someone else who is also an employee with the Metro Nashville government. If you're a returning viewer, you already know we always feature an artist doing a live painting to capture the essence of what each episode becomes in real time. The canvas for the live painting is provided by Jerry's Artorama, and the other materials for the artwork are provided by Turnip Green Creative Reuse. All 10 paintings of the first season will be featured throughout the hallways of NECAT Network until the pop-up exhibit in December for the live Season 1 finale at the Forge. Today's live painter is Dr. Meg Jordan. She is a Southern self-taught artist and sociologist whose work blends art, social justice, and research. She uses her creative practice to tell stories, engage communities, and drive collective action for social change. Dr. Meg, thank you for capturing the moment, this conversation, and for just continuing to be the light you are. Glad you're here again. How are you doing?
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm doing really great today. Happy to be here in conversation with some awesome people.
And for the viewers, they may have clicked from one episode on the YouTube to the next, but it's been a few months since you've been on the stage. What have you been up to? Can you give us any updates on life and art?
Yeah, so right now I'm in a show that's wrapping up at the Frist, and I have a big show at John Early Museum Magnet School that's up through July. So please stop by during school hours, summer hours, and see it. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, in each show, as most of you know, I've given each live painter and panel of guests a general theme for each episode, an ice-breaking thought of sorts. With June being a month known for celebrating Pride, shout out Kindling Arts Fest, I thought an interesting theme for today's show would be thinking and living outside the box. Dr. Meg, what did this initially spark with you thinking about and what you wanted to paint today?
Yeah, so thinking outside of the box and living outside of the box can be really uncomfortable when you're doing it. So I decided that I want to paint an image that I've painted 10 years ago when I started my art career about someone basically stunting on other people, and basically they're being their true self, being vibrant, being out there, being who they are, and other folks might look at you funny or be jealous or just perplexed. So I'm gonna encapsulate that in the painting.
Shout out to the Pee Wee Herman documentary. I think the word of the day is stuntin'. So whenever you hear stuntin', you're gonna be screaming when you watch this on YouTube. Thank you for that. The first guest I want to introduce is the artist who practices their art while spending a lot of their time working with a local arts organization. Daniel Jones is a Nashville-based producer, writer, and director who is passionate about facilitating creative storytelling, diverse narratives, and shared live art experiences that ignite social change. On top of being the Associate Director of Programming and Partnerships at Oz Arts Nashville, Sir Daniel is also the producing Artistic Director of Kindling Arts. Say that 3 times fast. Daniel, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today. Quick question for you. When and why did you decide to move to Nashville? And what was the first show, performance, or exhibit that you remember going to that made you feel like this was home to you?
Yeah, thank you for having me, Chuck. It's been such a joy already, and we're just getting started. I moved to Nashville in 2017. I had grown up in Knoxville originally, so I was a true East Tennessee boy through and through, but I had spent some time away from the South, which was necessary for me. And when I came back to visit Nashville in 2016 and 2017, I was just struck by like the energy of the city, and the creative community was really blossoming, and it was such a cool time to see what the city would become. Like, we were all kind of in this moment where we were going to have to decide what we're going to do with this city, and I still feel like we're in that moment to some degree, to be honest with you. The first thing that really made me feel like this would be home was when I was working on the former Sideshow Fringe Festival in late 2017, and it was such an incredible experience to meet all of these artists working across mediums. We were working with folks in theater and circus and dance, and I was meeting all of these amazing artists. There was a pop-up 1-minute puppet show where they tried to recap. Madeline Hicks was doing a 1-minute recap of a horror film in 1 minute. So it was like Jaws in 1 minute or Jurassic Park in 1 minute. And I was like, this place is really alive and well. So I was really excited by that energy, and I've been very lucky to continue collaborating with a lot of those artists through Kindling Arts Festival now.
Awesome. Thanks for the energy you bring and all the creatives together. So I appreciate that, Daniel. Oh, another thing with Daniel, as far as, can you tell us a little bit about what you do at Oz Arts?
Yes.
Just to throw that out there.
Of course, yeah. So Oz Arts Nashville is Nashville's home for contemporary performance. We are housed in a former cigar warehouse, actually, that the family that owned that cigar company turned it into a contemporary performance center. It's a pretty amazing space where we get to bring in artists from all around the world, all around the country, and work with local artists as well. We're actually going to be announcing our season this week for next year, which is really exciting. Just to give an example of that, it's a season that has 10 presentations in it and artists from 6 different continents. So every inhabitable continent besides Antarctica. And I work there as the Associate Director of Programming and Partnerships, really working to curate the season and work with local artists to imagine what their vision could look like in a space that can be kind of daunting. It's about a 10,000 square foot empty warehouse with no columns, and it's just a really exciting space and to make art in. It's got a lot of incredible alive energy.
Awesome. Thanks for that. Our second artist is another man who does his own art while also helping others put together their creative visions. Carlton Adkins received his master's degree at TSU, but before that he studied film, focusing on directing and producing at Watkins College of Art, Design, and Film, RIP Watkins, OG. Carlton is this show's featured artist who also works a day job with Metro. He is not only an arts teacher at Lead Cameron Middle School, he is also named the 2024 Middle School Art Teacher of the Year by the Tennessee Art Education Association. This statewide award recognizes outstanding teachers who exemplify what it means to be a great arts educator, going above and beyond for their students. Unsurprisingly and related, Carlton is the executive director and founder of the Enlightenment Film Academy. Thank you, Carlton, for being here and with us today. Question, what is the first movie that inspired you to study film and want to create your own work?
All right, so it's not complicated, but it goes like this. I love Spike Lee as a filmmaker. I love School Days and She's Gotta Have It, but it wasn't those movies that made me think I could make movies. Kevin Smith's Clerks made me believe I could make films. And I was in the theater, and I actually saw it in the theater, and I was like, if this can be made or this movie can be made, I can make movies. So with that, but it was still a journey after that. And I may have came after having gone to film school, but my thing was I've always been in the arts. In high school I was in arts, but film wasn't a thing that was for me. I didn't think film was a thing that was possible. But I had a friend, I'm gonna shout her out right now, Kania Jones. She would always hear me talk about it, and she's like, just do it. Stop talking about it and do it. So I'm flipping through an Entertainment Weekly magazine, and I see an advertisement that had USC, NYU, and then Watkins, and it was thumbing his nose at those other 2 schools. So I went over there and asked him, Kim Huddle was the admissions director at the time, and I asked her, if I came over here to learn films, will you teach me everything I need to know? And she was like, yeah. So, but to your original thesis and original question, Clerks was, I can do, if this can be made into a film or this can be made in a film, I can do movies.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, man. Thanks for being here. Finally, the third guest of the show is someone I've known about the longest. This fact is less about our age and more about how involved and prolific she has been in the Nashville creative ecosystem for years and decades now. Betsy Phillips is more than just everyone's favorite local writer. She has written for the Nashville Scene and the Washington Post. Her fiction has appeared in the magazine of fantasy and science fiction and Apex magazine. Another award-winning artist, Betsy was named 2019 Best Historian in the Nashville Scene and has served on the board of Historic Nashville, shout out Jimtown, while holding the professional historical fort of Vanderbilt University Press. You may know her from The Pith and the Wind, A City of Ghosts, Wolfsbane, but you no doubt have heard about and need to read it if you haven't already when I'm referring to her latest and greatest work titled Dynamite in Nashville. Betsy, thank you for being here with us as well. And question for you, who is your favorite Nashvilleian to know about and tell others within all the history you've read and written so far?
I think that my favorite still remains Ben Allen, who you may know from Ben Allen Road. He was our first 33rd degree Mason in town, and he was just a rich kid, basically. He didn't have a real job except for being rich, but he and his wife would hold seances twice a week at their fancy mansion downtown, and they would conjure an entity called the Thing, and then they would let the Thing scare their friends and chase them through the streets of Nashville, which I love so much. Every time I just think about all these like judges and, you know, mayors and stuff going to this seance, because, you know, it's the Victorian era, so I'm sure that it was just like, oh, I want to sit real close to somebody who's not my wife. Woo! But then it turns into like this actual scary thing. I love it so much.
Awesome. I can't wait to keep talking to all three of you, and four of you, counting Meg, Dr. Meg. Last and certainly and never the least, someone who is larger than life in Nashville, my friend Willie Sims, aka Big Fella. Big Fella is the ultimate bridge builder dedicated to fostering art, community, and connection. Big Fella is an entertainer, ambassador, and an entrepreneur. He is a devoted husband and father, the ultimate friend and artist, always productive on several projects every day, and I'm hoping we'll get to hear from him and a few more times throughout the show later tonight. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll get to hear more from these featured guests about the why behind what they do for work and art. We'll be right back.
Coffee Talk with Metro Arts is a monthly, sometimes bi-monthly, community gathering where artists, neighbors, and those looking to get involved in the Nashville art scene can connect and share their stories, learn about upcoming projects and opportunities, and meet the people creating exciting new art in Nashville, all while enjoying a nice cup of coffee. For more details, visit us on the web at metroartsnashville.com.
Hello, I'm author Susanna Feltz, co-founder of The Porch, and you're watching Nashville's home for arts education and free speech, NECAT. At The Porch, our mission is to inspire, educate, and connect writers and readers through classes and literary events. To find out more, visit us on the web at porchtn.org.
I am definitely not Big Fella.
I'm Chuck Beard.
And you can definitely catch us on Metro Arts Forging Ahead here at NECAT Network.
Metro Nashville Arts Commission, or Metro Arts, is the Office of Arts and Culture for the City of Nashville and Davidson County. We believe that arts drive a more vibrant and equitable community. We strive to ensure that all Nashvillians have access to a creative life through community investments, artist and organizational trainings, public art, and direct programs that involve residents in all forms of arts and culture. For more information on Metro Arts, visit us on the web at metroartsnashville.com.
Welcome back to Metro Arts Forging Ahead. I'm your host, Chuck Beard. If you're just now joining us, our guests today are Betsy Phillips, Carlton Adkins, Daniel Jones, and Dr. Meg Jordan on the live painting. Wait a second, I think I'm getting a cue from my friend Big Fella. Can we go to Big Fella?
Man, thank you for the introduction, Chuck. Appreciate that, cuz. All right, so my first question is for Daniel. Daniel, man, see, you look like a nice, cool, calm, collective dude, but you off the hook, man. You a wild man on the inside, bro. The naughty tree, come on, man. That's epic artistically, pushing lines, and that's what art's supposed to do. My question for you is, working at Oz Arts at a big arts organization, tell me, have you seen with the climate of the politics of the world right now, have you physically seen arts funding or support go down from where you sit at? Have you seen that? And tell them about the naughty tree, man. Tell them about the naughty tree. He naughty.
Oh, I'm getting the heavy hitting one today.
I know we're going to start off with this
great.
tone, but go ahead.
Yes, it's a very interesting and precarious time for arts funding across the board, and I think that's true for everyone at every scale and every size. This is happening on a national level. Obviously, there's the NEA nightmare that we are existing in currently, which TBD what the fallout of that will be. That trickles down to all of the state funders. It trickles down to our regional funders like South Arts. And we have organizations like the Doris Duke Foundation and Andrew Mellon Foundation, and all of these foundations are reimagining what their priorities are going to be. It's kind of all happening simultaneously, so it's definitely a difficult time. I do think that there's sort of an imperative for people who believe in the arts and can support it to really show up in this moment for artists and for organizations that are doing important work in your community. That's a really easy, tangible thing that you can do is buy a ticket, make a donation, show up and be an energetic audience member for someone. And that's something that I think is sort of essential at this time. It's also it's interesting how audiences are finding these spaces ever more essential and ever more alive for that part that feeds their soul and gives them community and really builds around the work. If ever there was a time where we needed to gather together in spaces and really remind ourselves of our commonalities and be challenged by artistic ideas, this is that moment. So the role of the arts continues to be essential beyond belief.
Thank you for that. And also, what was the play that he was talking about, or the exhibit that he was talking about?
It made me wonder if he saw it. I was yes, The Naughty Tree was an artistic experience that I got to create in 2022, along with playwright River Timms, Woven Theater Company, and rock band Fable Cry. We went all the way back to the Garden of Eden and reinvented that whole story through a queer lens. The evening was hosted by Mother Nature, who was played by James Rudolph II in drag, and in our universe, God is a woman, and there were multiple Adams and multiple Eves. And it was a really celebratory, joyous experience. We premiered it at the Blue Room for 2 nights, and it was just packed and sweaty and electric. And it was, a moment where a drag queen's playing the actual naughty tree, the tree of life, if you will. And, the snake is played by a burlesque dancer. And it was a really special experience for all of us. So I loved that awesome. Chance to create.
Yeah, he's the perfect hype man. He was telling me, I was like, I want to see the show right now, and kind of going into that as far as it seems like everybody up here is either making history or helping us learn about history. That's what I'm taking just from our pre-show talks and talks so far. And can you speak to more of the history about how Kindling Arts and the fest came about? Because as you spoke earlier, the energy that you found when you came here, coming from Knoxville, is almost like a continuation. And whenever I hear or see anything promos about Kindling, it just feels like just free art, emotion, no filters, just love for creation. So.
Yes, I will plug Erica Ciccaroni from The Scene formerly. She called our work uncensored, freewheeling, and full of heart, which I thought was a really beautiful summation of the Kindling universe. Yes, Kindling Arts started as a necessary platform for local artists to make work. There were so few places that local artists that weren't attached to large institutions could create on their own and truly not have to deal with the censorship that comes with a lot of the platforms that are available in the city. When you think about even space, a lot of our spaces are owned by institutions that have rules about what they will and will not allow on stage. So that's just as a side note. And so we were coming out of a period where the Sideshow Fringe Festival had existed, and my producing partner Jessica Malone was the co-founder of that, and that ran for 7 years. And it was clear that that festival was not going to have a path forward. And so we knew that it was really essential that local artists have a chance to still make art, especially during a dark time like the summer where so few performance opportunities are happening for local artists. And we started Kindling Arts Festival with a hope and a prayer and 2 pennies in 2018 in Wedgwood, Houston, back when Wedgwood, Houston was affordable. And we made a lot of partnerships, and I think we did the whole first festival for less than $20,000. I mean, we completely pulled resources out of nowhere for it. And it was really clear from the jump that this was a vital platform for artists, that audiences were really hungry for the work. And so what we're trying to do is create this space for people to play, experiment, be bold and daring and brave, and also like maybe make something that doesn't quite fit in a box. Like the outside the box theme is actually really applicable to the programming that we do. It's all about kind of making something that is unclassifiable in nature and confusing and maybe even difficult to describe. We love that.
Awesome. Thanks for the tie-in with the transition of the theme too. Similarly, Carlton, can you, oh wait a second. I'm getting another buzz from Big. Can we go to Big on the big screen, please?
All right, so this next question to my man Carlton. Carlton, tell me this. Now I know you a art teacher of the year, highly sought after art educator. Let me know if, and if so, tell me the moment. Have you ever seen a moment when art opened up a kid's mind, like the light bulb went off in the middle of something? Like, have you ever seen that? And tell us about it. I love the moments, man.
For sure. And it happened actually my first year teaching. I was at Jerry Baxter, and one of the harder schools, or say more challenging schools in the city. And there was a young man in the class who was non-communicative. He wouldn't speak. Not that he couldn't, he just wouldn't. And so, and he would always do art on his own by himself or whatever. And so I really wanted to teach film. I've been doing this whole teaching a film thing for forever. So we were working on a project, and when we got to the part where we were editing, that's when he came alive. When I showed him how to edit and cut scenes together, he was doing some of the most amazing work. Like, he was figuring out how to do things on iMovie at the time, that I didn't even know how to do. And it was that moment where I was like, this is why I do it, right? You know, it's like, gosh, yes. The guy who, I mean, and during that moment, he would speak to me a little bit. That was the first time I would get words out of him. So because he would want to know how to do this or why to do this, and I would do it. And that was the moment. That was the got you moment. And it was that thing that's like, I don't care how hard this is, I'm gonna always continue to do it. And so what that led to is me working with NASA for the first time when NASA first started, and teaching film after school to have them learn that thing. But he wouldn't speak, wouldn't say anything, but when he got to editing, and like, man, if you've ever edited, you know that you can just be singular by yourself, or maybe other times just get notes from your director, and you can just do this work by yourself. So I don't know where that kid is. I would love to know where he is now, and I hope wherever he is, he's editing. But that was it. Yeah.
He's watching this show right now, and you too. Can you give him a quick rundown? Was that before or after? Just tell us a little bit of history about the Enlightenment Film Academy for those that don't know.
Let's see, when did I start? That was before, actually. Okay. That was before I started the nonprofit. That was 2008, because it was the year my daughter was born. I didn't start the nonprofit until 2011, and I graduated from Watkins in like 2002, right? So it was that thing in that moment. So I was like, well, how can I bring this to more people? And so the whole idea and the mission of the Enlightenment Film Academy is to teach underrepresented populations the art and business of film and television production, the art and business of it. So I need them to understand that. And as I'm listening to Daniel here, my thought process is, I know every student that may go through my program may not become filmmakers, but one of them may become a hedge fund manager. And so they can start continually provide funding for the nonprofit, but also to try to build a way in which we can become profitable as a nonprofit in the way in which we handle and manage some of the project content that we create. So we can always have a revenue stream, and we're not always hat in hand, so that when we have situations like the current administration who wants to turn off the spigot, we would still have ways in which we can operate and fund what we need to do. So it was about finding ways to teach kids to be self-sufficient, and also to create and tell their stories, because sometimes a lot of stories and it's so funny. I was just thinking on my way over here how I could tell the story of Hannibal, and it was crazy. I had this whole thought process. It's like, Hannibal as a story has been kicking around in Hollywood for a long time, but nobody wants to produce it because of what it could potentially do and say. And I would think, well, you know, a lot of times we create film so we can find distribution. And so I would figure if I got the film, I wouldn't have it distributed, or I wouldn't sell it to a distributor, because they would probably kill it and never exhibit it. So I wanted to be able to control that. And so if we have kids who are in positions to make those things happen, then wherever, and I know this is a whole lot to talk about, a little small nonprofit that barely has 20 kids, but the potential of what exists is great. And I say I started in 2011, but I didn't really start doing anything with the nonprofit until like 2022, just 3 years ago. And so we're going from there
I'm
now.
gonna pause you right there. We're
I'm
gonna come
sorry,
back with an
I'm talking
enlightened
too
thing,
much.
and I think, no, I didn't hear from Big. We're gonna be right back after these messages from Metro Arts. Stay tuned.
The Forge Nashville mission is to give more people affordable access to the professional tools, space, and support they need to succeed as a maker and artist, and to provide new opportunities to youth and underserved communities. Welcoming beginners, passionate creators, and aspiring entrepreneurs, The Forge changes lives. The Forge has a place for everyone, whether you're looking for a full table in a shop, a community co-working space, or just want to support Nashville's makers. To find out more, visit us online at theforgenashville.org. The Forge Nashville, meet your makers.
Hello, I'm Erin Hughley, Director of Operations at The Forge Nashville, and you are watching NECAT. At The Forge, our mission is to give more people access to the tools, space, and support they need to succeed as makers and artists. The Forge welcomes beginners, creatives, and aspiring entrepreneurs, and provides opportunities to youth in underserved communities. To find out more, visit us on the web at theforgenashville.org.
Did you know Metro Arts and Nashville Public Library have a free lending library? Library card holders can choose from a selection of artworks by local Nashville artists and borrow for up to 3 months. The collection includes framed paintings, photographs, and mixed media. After 3 months, bring the artwork back and borrow a different piece. Available at Donaldson, East, Green Hills, Hermitage, Madison, Old Hickory, and Southeast branches of Nashville Public Library. For more information and to browse the collection online, please visit library.nashville.gov.
Hi, I'm Cameron McCaslin, Studio Manager here at the NECAT Network, powered by Nashville Public Library, Music City's home for arts, education, and free speech on TV. You can tune in to any of our 3 channels on our website, necatnetwork.org. And to find out more about Nashville Public Library, including how to get a library card and browse the collection, visit library.nashville.gov.
What's NECAT?
A place for anyone. Sure. NECAT Network.
That's Nashville Education, Community, and Arts Television.
Everyone knows that.
But did they know that NECAT runs 3 television stations that serve counties all over Middle Tennessee?
We know that! But what a lot of people don't know is that NECAT is also an active community partner.
That's right. We're more than a television network. We love Nashville, and we love supporting as many organizations any way we can.
From Friends Life to Nashville Predators Foundation, NECAT provides studio access and training to help community organizations. So when you think of NECAT,
remember, we're way more than a television station.
We're Nashville. Thank you, Predators!
All right, welcome back to Metro Arts Forging Ahead. I'm still your host, Chuck Beard, in conversation with a few Nashville artists who inspire me and many others in the city. I think I'm hearing Big. Big, where are you?
All right, so my last question. This is for you, to the amazing Betsy Phillips. Betsy, so I see that you say you hang out in the city cemetery. I too enjoy a good cemetery experience. Don't nobody know it. They know about Greenwood, but that Mount Ararat is some stuff up there. And then the one, what is it? It's on Lebanon Pike. That one with the Calvary, whoo, it's heavy, man. You learn a lot about the world in cemeteries. It tell a whole story. Anyway, what is your fascination connection with ghosts and people who are no longer with us, or people who are dead and not here, or the past, and bring that stuff to life? What is your fascination with that, and why is it call you, and you write about it so epically and so real?
That's a good question that I don't have a great answer for. I've always been a spooky kid, I think. So I just really like how much history is in cemeteries, and I like finding out the stories of people. I think that there's so much that we can learn from history. There are so many lessons, and I mean, I think for anybody who's been alive for longer than like 10 seconds, we're seeing now, history repeating itself in some of the most ugly ways. And it's such a shame. We've been here before and we know how this goes. Like, it just does not go well. And yet here we are. I was thinking how terrible it is that we're like back in the Middle East and back at war. Like, I can remember being in high school and being so terrified for my friends who were in the military. And now I'm old and we're in the same place having the same kinds of fights. And we will tell ourselves as a nation that it's, for whatever, but it's always about land and oil. And, so I think that I find a lot of inspiration in the past because there are people who have found ways to survive and thrive in circumstances like this or even worse. And I like the chance to be able to tell their stories. I think it's important that we know our neighbors, both living and dead.
I want to ask you a question I've never asked you, and I've always wondered, but coming in from youth standpoint of like, from both of them talking about being inspired with the arts as a young age, but as far as you, what first inspired you to write? Because you're such a great writer. I say this even if you're not in the same room with me, but like one of my favorite writers. But where did that love come from, or who inspired you at the beginning?
This is so cliched, but there was as you know, my dad was a Methodist minister, and so we were very sheltered, except that he had a belief that you should be, whatever you could read, you could read. So his organist gave me my first Stephen King book when I was like 10 or 11, and I was hooked. I just thought that like that magic of being able to create a world for people and and carry their emotions like that and then leave them. I always, especially when I was very young, and I'd finish a book and I would just want to not do anything for a while because I wanted to still be in that feeling of the book. Yeah. And I have always thought like it is an amazing gift to be able to put your thoughts in a way, in a format that then like you can give it to somebody else. You don't have to be there for them to receive it. And so it is a kind of maybe a way of haunting people even if you're still alive. Your book will pop up. And
well, I mean, speaking of real life haunting, like I said it before, everybody needs to read that book, Dynamite Nashville. Can you talk a little bit about the overview of what it is so people can do it, but also like what you've enjoyed, how it came to you within your studies of history and what that process was like putting it together for you?
Sure. So Dynamite Nashville is the story of 3 unsolved civil rights era bombings that happened here in Nashville. Hattie Cotton Elementary School in 1957, the Jewish Community Center bombing in 1958, and then, as you can see on the cover, the bombing of Councilman Z. Alexander Luby's house in 1960. I got suckered into writing this book because I stupidly thought, why don't we know who bombed Hattie Cotton? It was coming up on the 60th anniversary of the integration of Nashville's first grade. And I gave myself a 6-week deadline to find out who had done that bombing. And then I thought I would write a column for the scene. And then 7 years later, I finished the book because I just realized there was a lot more to it and a lot more that needed to be said. Even if we couldn't say for sure who had done the bombings, we needed to be able to say who had decided that we couldn't know.
I mean, anybody out there watching or listening here, it's just like, it's hard enough to write a book. It's another thing to write a book and something that's nonfiction and still have some people alive that are in those unsolved, the reasons for the unsolved things. Not that we're trying to get the FBI to look at us, but I remember you several times throughout the creation posting like, people are watching you, or it's like living in a movie. It was
very nerve-wracking. Yeah. And I knew that I had made some people angry, and then like there were things that happened where I was like, okay, I don't know if this is like a dangerous thing or just an accident. So, you know, like it was very, you know, you try not to be paranoid, but on the other hand, you know, like I did interview a terrorist who was good friends with David Duke, and, you know, so the disconnect where I was like, oh, this is great, this is going great. And then realizing like, oh crap, now somebody who's friends with David Duke knows what I look like. Like that's probably a bad idea. So yeah, I think too, which is one of the things, so when the book came out, the mayor announced that he was asking the police to reopen the cases. And they just recently, like meaning last week, concluded that they couldn't get any farther than I'd gotten. And so many people are like, you got to keep working on this. And I am just like, I really, for my own mental health, cannot. Like, this is a lot of really vile people to spend a lot of time with. It's one of the reasons, you can't see this, but Mark is in the audience, and his work on Edmondson kind of inspired me, because William Edmondson, famous sculptor, just a nice guy. He's not trying to kill anybody. He's trying to make art. I just liked learning about him and his family. Loved going to the Edmondson, you know, celebrations in the communities and stuff. So I even thank William Edmondson in the acknowledgments to my book, because it was just nice to have somebody nice to turn to. So if you are interested in solving these cases, let me know. I'll happily share all the files that I have with you. But no, I'm ready to put that behind me.
And we already know at the beginning, before you read it, well, what? It's like, you okay?
Oh no, this is how we find out.
Right,
She
there's
was
a
the
ghost, it's
bomber.
tapped,
I was
it's tapped.
completely wrong.
We're talking about it. No, but you know that it's unsolved still, but it took me I had to put the book down several times, because you do, I mean, imagine creating it and writing it put together. It takes a toll on you when you really care about the community and stuff. Speaking of dropping headlines over here, what do we got over here, Dr. Meg? What are you feeling over here?
So with the theme of, you know, living outside the box, I have someone just flying in the sky, being their best self with a trail of magic following them, and onlookers that are confused as to like, oh, what's this person doing? Are we jealous? So yeah, that's what we got going on over here.
And since it's kind of my job to put you on the spot, what are some of the takeaways that you heard, or are you totally in the zone of that jumping
Oh no, I'm
colors?
listening.
Yeah, no, what is your takeaway from being over here?
I am
And
still
questions?
stuck on, oh sorry, I'm over talking you.
No.
Oops.
Go ahead.
I'm still stuck on what Betsy was saying. Betsy, right? Okay. About burnout and knowing when to drop something, because like you can dedicate yourself to a cause and do your best at it, but if it's like coming up against your mental health, you got to move on to the next project, because we still need you doing good work. And yeah, I mean, so yeah, that's what I study, is burnout and creative careers, especially in the social justice realm. So I enjoy doing fun things like this, balancing my life with fun, while also, you know, diving into very real, depressing, but necessary projects. So there's a balance, and there's a time and a place, and you can dip in, dip out, do whatever you want. So I'm happy to hear your story and excited to learn more from all of you about your journeys. So,
I'm curious too, again, put you on the spot, but I know you have kind of a general idea the way you work, but does some of the talks and answers kind of influence the painting while you're doing it, or just a mindset?
I think just the mindset of, I wasn't sure how much this image would resonate with the stories of like people taking a risk and jumping, but it resonated with me, and I feel like there's through lines between all of our stories. And I actually, the first time I painted this was 10 years ago when I started my art journey, and I'm kind of remaking it to talk about those funny moments of creative vulnerability, of like within Daniel's story of first starting Kindling Arts and that like shoestring budget of like how do we rub these two pennies together to make magic happen? And Betsy's story as well as, and I'm so, Carlton. Yeah. I was like, which Carlton Adkins? Okay, yeah. I got you. And Carlton's story of like that inspiration and diving into that educator role of being like, getting that confirmation from your student that like you're in the right place, you're doing the right thing, you know, so yeah.
Awesome. Oh, thank you. We're going to be right back after one more commercial break.
NECAT stands for Nashville Education Community Arts Television, and our mission is twofold: expose Middle Tennessee viewers to arts and education programming created both locally and around the world, and teach individuals and organizations who wish to make TV shows how to do so. Let them use our equipment and resources, and then broadcast those shows for them. For more information on how to get started creating your own TV show with NECAT, visit us on the web at necatnetwork.org.
Hello, I'm Annie Herlocker, Regional Manager of the Bellevue Branch of Nashville Public Library. You are watching NECAT. NPL's mission is to inspire reading, advance learning, and connect our community. To find out more about NPL's collection, programs, and services, visit us on the web at library.nashville.gov.
Suppose for just a moment you were Nashville's government. You have a bit of money and you want some to be spent. And keeping Nashville beautiful's a priority for you. You want to help your people out too. What would you do? You could start a Metro Arts. 15 citizens on a commission. Art is what they know. Them and 5 committees decide where the money goes. And dedicated staff to see that all the work gets done, making Nashville better for everyone. You could start a Metro Arts. Public art and grants would each play a part. Occasionally embroiled in scandal, but it's nothing you can't handle. You should start a Metro Arts.
It's always a better day when I see Ellen. Thank you. Welcome back to Metro Arts Forging Ahead. Again, I'm your host, Chuck Beard. Today we've had a big time learning a little bit from Betsy Phillips, Carlton Adkins, Daniel Jones, and Dr. Meg Jordan. In this lag segment, well, I want to go back and pick up from where we were. And as far as the burnout that both Meg and Betsy were talking about, I was just curious with different mediums, and this goes to Carlton and Daniel, of just thinking like, for me, sometimes the best art is where the other person passes a torch and finishes the story or inspires more art. So like whether it's a show at Kingling Arts or a film project with you, Carlton, like when hearing just a brief synopsis from, you know, Dynamite Nashville, where would you all go with that, with teaching others or bringing together artists, young and old? Like the initial gut intuition, improv question on the fly, no wrong answers. Especially with it being such a local thing. Yeah.
All right, so this is, I'm gonna pivot a little bit and just go art, right?
Yeah.
So this past school year, what I wanted to do, and it didn't happen, but we'll see what happens in the future. I was wanting to teach my students, because I teach art 5th and 6th grade, elements, principles of design, we do that, and then 7th grade photography, 8th grade video production. But what I wanted to do was, I had some really strong artists who were in the high school, and what I wanted to do was to create murals at the school. So what I did, I went onto the public art website for Nashville to find 10 mural artists who would come in and mentor 2 to 3 students apiece on how to do murals. We were going to do, and the canvases were going to be the portables that we have at the school. There's these blank, ugly things. We would do that. And that was what was driving me to do and be happy, right? And I actually, and I love wanting to pay artists. So I even got the school to agree to pay each one of these artists $15,000. And so they were going to come in and train these artists on how to do that, and at the same time integrate photography, because the students were going to take pictures and videography. They were going to do a documentary. And we're going to put this book together. We're going to also incorporate the other schools, the students in the school through their English programs to go out and look at the paintings and be inspired to write poems and poetry and put all that in the book. So you had the artist statements, the students working the artist statements, and then we would create a book in which we could sell that book to help fund the art program at the school. That was the thing. It didn't come together because of certain ways in which accounting is done, but my grant writer at the school is gung-ho about making it happen for next year. And here's the thing that's a kicker, it's temporary art, so that we do this every year. So that artwork would stay up on the portable for a year, and then other artists would come in and do the same thing. So some of the artists, Ruben, Charles Key, Queen Bee, Donna Woodley, like all of these artists were going to come in and work with the students. So it was amazing what was going to happen. So putting it on the back burner, but that's the thing that I was really working with as far as what was motivating me to not be burnt out about art, and also getting to the summer program too. But yeah.
Cool. Daniel, what would inspire anything new from that story, a spinoff or, you know?
Okay. Can you rephrase the question? Because I just had this beautiful answer from Carlton, and now I have to come up with something.
There is no wrong answers. No, it's just like hearing that story. If I gave you a prompt of what would you do with Dynamite Nashville in Kingling, what would that inspire you?
Yeah. I've been very lucky to work on a couple pieces that have to do with local history locally. One of the first things that I got to work on when I first moved here was a piece called Haunted that actually ended up being about the Dutchman's Curve train wreck of 1918, which is a fascinating story about the deadliest train wreck in American history. And it's a really powerful medium to do immersive performance. And it's funny that you asked this, because actually earlier Betsy and I were talking about this incredible story she's looking at otherwise, and I turned to her and I said, that would make an amazing performance piece. I want to restage the thing that you're talking about. So I would be curious about that. I'd also be curious to think about the ways that a performance piece could live in conversation with what's happening in the violence in our world today. We're just seeing so much public violence. And when I hear about things like schools, the Jewish Community Center, the home of a civil rights activist, I'm getting a little goosey actually, even thinking about how those things are very 2025 just as much as they are the 50s and 60s. And so there's something inspiring and deeply sad at the same time about the parallels that are happening there.
Well, maybe in a year we'll look back and speaking these ideas and the production stuff, ideas that you're talking about, maybe it'll all come together. So it's got to start from somewhere. I'm getting another voice from the above. I think it's Big. Big?
All right, so this question is for all of y'all, right? Everybody. I ask this one every time. I love to know what you think. Tell me from your perspective, if you could add one thing that would help the arts ecosystem that you were part of, like we get dropped one thing into the city that would help the most, what would it be from your perspective? What would help the whole arts ecosystem from your perspective?
No wrong answers. Pick a different medium. We're all artists. What do you think, Betsy? You go first.
I think that we need if not a Nashville History Museum, then specifically a Nashville Civil Rights Museum. I think that we have so many important stories in this town that were done by people who are still alive, and we have no way of capturing and collecting them and then turning around and sharing that information with the next generations. One of the things that has really struck me when I've gone around and talked about this book is how quickly the white people are like, well, you know, white people just suck. What can you do? Like, and I'm like, you know, I don't want to take the focus of the freedom movement off of Black people, but all along there were white people helping. And all along there were white people making the decision to do the right thing in circumstances that are a lot tougher than this. We don't have any way as a city of engaging with that And I've just, like I've said, from doing the publicity for this book, I realized like, oh, there are a lot of people who are kind of like letting themselves off the hook from having to do anything because they've just decided like, well, historically white people have sucked, so I will just continue also to suck. And it's like, I don't know, man, like we've got a richer history than that. But again, we don't have any place where people can really engage with that long history of the freedom struggle and who all was involved in it. Even though every other city that was as consequential as we are to the civil rights movement has museums and centers and makes it a central part of their story as a city.
Bless you in the audience. Carlton, speaking to what Big asked, what do you think? What could be a big change for artists, a big help?
I love this. My thing is having more focus on cultivating artists from the city of Nashville, and Nashville loving those artists so they don't have to go to another city, get big, and come back. We live in a city that has Music City. Why don't have more country music artists that come out of the city? We live in a city that could potentially have to be Music City, according to the covers of the scene a week or two ago. Movie City. Why don't we have more artists that are recognized as movie creators out of the city? So my thing was to, and I was just having this conversation yesterday, as a way in which Metro schools has an emphasis on trying to develop those students to be great and be successful and have them be a part of the collective that's the city of Nashville. And I speak on that, and I'm not trying to step on anybody's toes, but the whole thing, every student known, that should have been produced in one of the schools. The people who did the documentary should have been students shooting the documentary, and then having that thing be a thing that was holistically done by the students, because we have the capacity to do it. We just need to be more forthright in making it happen, and that would be, I would love to see that. And then have those connections where I'm not mad at Music Row for taking the students over there, but why don't you come into the building and help the kids, have more people, and I know that they do community things from the Frisk, but have that connection where you have this major museum go into the school and talk to kids. And I'm here also, and they can get mad at me, is chastise my art teachers for not doing enough to promote the artwork that the students are doing. I say that as a charter school teacher who for last year was the first charter school art teacher to ever have student artwork in the mayor's art show at the Frisk. And I've been working on that for 8 years. And so we need more of that. We need more of the teachers to be practitioners of art and also pushing their students to do great work. As a member of TAEA, we've had beautiful artwork that was at the Parthenon, but it wasn't a lot of artwork from Nashville in that show. And so we need to do more about promoting and letting our kids know so they don't have to go to college first to figure out how great they were or how great they could be as artists as it pertains to any of it. You know, theater, music, dance, all of that.
Quick answer, Daniel.
Two really good
punctuation
answers.
on it, yeah.
Yes, I'm really inspired by what Carlton said about trying to keep talent in the city. It's a real problem that I think we see across mediums, and so if I could wave my magic wand and I had millions of dollars, we need space desperately to create, especially for performance makers. And so I think about the ways that like a simple, very expensive building that had a black box theater, multiple rehearsal studios, visual art studios for visual artists, literary little nooks and crannies for our literary writers, a film screening room, something like that, that like that touches on multiple mediums and is just like radically accessible for artists. We're living in a time where gentrification is really making the city so unbelievably inaccessible, and you cannot afford to do anything. And so space is the name of the game these days.
Awesome. We're going to speak all this into existence.
Yes.
One quick last thought. You can see the finished product, or the finished painting, is a product of ideas and love and joy at the Forge at our finale. But Meg, anything else you want to say quick about your painting and punctuate this show?
Oh, I thought you were going to ask me the same question.
No.
Well, about
You're
the
coming
painting.
back.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's almost to completion. I don't have too much to say about it. Yeah. But on the question, though, I think we need an artist union that's across disciplines. and basically pay transparency, because a lot of these corporations coming here, getting free office spaces and things like that, developing in our city, not paying taxes. There needs to be some community agreements between the city, artist, and these corporations that puts an investment in the arts and that's actually equitable to how much our city costs. So, yeah.
Cool. We're going to be doing a ... on that and get back to Meg in the next episode, which will be back. That's about all the time we have today on this episode of Metro Arts Forging Ahead. Thanks to everyone on the show, everyone listening and watching this show, everyone at NECAT, Cameron, Eric, and more behind the camera, everyone smiling in the live audience. NECAT Network, the Nashville Public Library, Fellovision, Metro Arts, WXNA, Kindling Arts, Oz Arts, Vanderbilt University Press, Third Man Book, Nashville Scene, MNPS, Jerry's Artorama, Turnip Green Creative Reuse, and you, the viewer. We're going to end every Metro Arts Forging Ahead episode this season with the final word, as it should be, from one of our featured artists before she does what she do. I certainly want to sincerely thank you for tuning in here today and for staying tuned for more great stuff with Metro Arts and the creative community here in Nashville. Handing the curtain call back to Betsy Phillips with any final words of the day that she'd like to share. One last time, my name is Chuck Beard, and I hope you're feeling better about your Nashville world after listening to some of our creative friends and seeing how they are making Nashville and the world a more beautiful place. Betsy, please share your power.
All right. Find something that you are terrible at, but still love to do. And then that way, when you do it, and it's like, ugh, it turned out terrible, you're not surprised. I found I'm teaching myself to paint. I completely suck at it. I love it so much. But when you write, I am kind of a perfectionist. Like, oh, this isn't good enough. Da, da, da. But when I paint, there is no expectation of being good because I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm finding that to be so refreshing and so lovely that I just have to recommend to any creative person to have a creative outlet that you're terrible at and relish it.